Hi, welcome to Georgetown. You've arrived on such a special day. Do you know why? Because every day is a special day at Georgetown. We're your tour guides for today, and we'll be introducing you to different parts of the campus and talking a little bit about our personal experiences. First, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alyssa, and I am a junior in the School of Nursing and Health Studies, studying global health and minoring in theology, and I'm originally from Reno Valley, California.
All right, and my name is Josiah. I'm a junior in the School of Foreign Service, studying international politics, concentrating in foreign policy, and I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. Now, why don't we go ahead and get started? I want to direct your attention to directly behind us. Now, today we're standing here at the front gates, gates obviously symbolize closure, ending, but Georgetown's campus actually extends far beyond these front gates. The first thing you'll notice right outside these gates are these beautiful, colorful townhouses. So these townhouses are actually owned by the university and leased out to students in what are known as living learning communities. Now, we'll touch upon some of the communities that we have here a bit later in the tour, but they're basically just like if you want to come to school and you want to live with people maybe studying the same thing as you, of the same background, you can apply to do so and be lived in these townhouses. These are known as the Magis Road townhouses. So we have everything from Spanish communities, women communities, to La Casa Latina and the Black House, and they provide great resources to students here on campus.
Yeah. One other thing that I want to point out that's just a block away is our Center for Social Justice. So this institution really just symbolizes one of our Jesuit values here at Georgetown, which is just women and men for others. So really just committing students to the issues that they're talking about in their classes. And the way that they do that is on kind of three different levels. So one of them is a local level. So we have students at Georgetown going into the DC community and tutoring students who are younger than them in subjects that they might need more help with. On a more national level, during spring break, we have our alternative spring break programs, which go to different areas around the world, like New York City or Washington, D.C., or just kind of more out there. And they'll really engage with the issues that they're talking about on multiple levels, whether it's governmental level or nonprofits, really working with experts in that area to learn more about that issue. I personally benefited from the Center for Social Justice this last summer through their Social Innovation and Public Service Fund, otherwise known as SIPS. They sent me to South Africa to conduct my project where I was teaching social justice theater to different high school students around there. And I don't know if I would have been able to do something like that at any other university. So as we're walking back, I'm going to introduce you to a very important individual on campus. He's right behind me if you check him out, right in the center of campus. His name is Father John Carroll. So Father John Carroll is the founder of Georgetown University. He came over to the States before 1789 in order to study, but he wasn't able to due to religious persecution at the time. And so we really draw our founding back to 1634 because that's when Georgetown's kind of first plot of land was set out, not on this campus, but out in St. Mary's, Maryland. Father John Carroll actually came to this plot of land and founded the campus in 1789. So you're looking at his statue right behind me right there. But just talking a little bit more about what the values are that the university was founded upon. Because Father John Carroll wasn't able to study in the States, he founded the university based on the principles that anyone from any religious background, or really any background at all, would have a high quality education. And how that kind of translates into our life now is, yes, Georgetown is a Jesuit university, meaning that we have two theology requirements. And so that first one is either going to be Problem of God or Biblical Literature. And those classes are really just focusing on getting a general theology education. Beyond that, you have to take one second level upper theology, and some of those classes are Dogs and God. So do dogs go to heaven? Obviously, yes. Some of those other classes are looking at the veil and Turkey and France. I personally loved my theology classes so much that I became a theology minor. Some other ways that the Jesuit education translates is that you'll have a philosophy and ethics requirement as well. Yeah.
All right. Now, why don't you follow us into one of our postcard buildings here. This is Healy Hall. It's really a great space for students. It has several different resources from our chaplains and residents. Our chaplains provide kind of just like a really good support in the sense that they're always available to talk to students. They're super excited and encouraging. Coming to Georgetown, you'll be supported by one of the nation's largest campus ministries on campuses. It is not an administrative building, so that means it came strictly out of the needs for students, and it completely serves students in the form of, like I mentioned, we have chaplains here. who provide services for students. In addition to that, they do different faith retreats to kind of escape the stresses and pressures that can be sometimes university campuses. So why don't we go ahead and head into this building?
All right, now we're inside Healy Hall. We were just talking about our chaplains, and if you look along that wall right there, you can see that all of our chaplains' offices are just right next to each other, super accessible to students as soon as they enter the hall. One of the things we're most proud of is that we are the first full-time Catholic university to hire full-time rabbi, imam, and Hindu priest. We just really what's making sure is that every student at Georgetown has the campus ministry resources that they need. Another really cool aspect about our campus ministry is our chaplains and residents. And so really what that is that your students would have at least 2 chaplains in every dorm building. They have their own apartments there, and they really just open it up so that students can talk about anything that they might need. For me personally, it was really helpful as I was feeling homesick my first year. And so sometimes they'll have events with just like serving quesadillas or different sweets, and you can just go visit and talk to them.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice that's really true to Georgetown is that there's actually a lot of interfaith dialogue. So the different chaplains are actually really good friends, and they work together collaboratively to serve students, which is also another unique aspect of Georgetown. Okay, so if you were to go up 2 floors in this building, you would actually find what is known as Gaston Hall. Now, Gaston Hall is kind of one of our main speaking venues here on campus. It houses several different events from speakers and presidents and leaders of countries and activities and different events. So we have a cappella groups that perform.
Yeah, some of my favorite events is Bradley Cooper came either last year or a few years ago and came and spoke to students, and all those events again are free. So really just cool events. But one other office that I'll talk about while we're here is the office of the president, John DeGioia. So just a floor above me, his office is his office, and we like to call John DeGioia Hoya through and through. He came here as a student and kind of worked his way up from there in order to be the president of the university. Some really cool things about him is that he really cares about the undergraduate students. And so before Thanksgiving, the night before, he'll host a dinner open to all students that are still on campus. So for example, my freshman year, I didn't go home for Thanksgiving. And so you walk in, he shakes your hand, he individually introduces himself to every single student there, which just really made me feel like I had a home on Georgetown's campus.
Right. So typically we like to talk about class sizes just because that is a common question that a lot of people have when they're deciding on what college they would like to go to. So Georgetown tends to keep class sizes really, really small. Now I'm from a pretty large public school in LA where my class sizes were average, probably around 43 students. Georgetown likes to cap things, especially language, at around like 10 to 15 students, just so that you can build a relationship with your professors. In addition to that, we do have larger lecture size classes, but Georgetown requires that classes over a specific size have a separate what they call recitation section. So it's just another discussion period, again, about 15 students, 15 to 20 this time, with the teaching assistant. They'll go over the homework, they'll answer any questions, and they do a really good job at covering things. I've never felt like if there was something I didn't understand in a class that I didn't have the support I needed in those courses to really get that information covered.
Yeah. All right, let's head outside. Welcome to Dahlgren Quad. This is one of my favorite places on campus because it's always so peaceful and I feel like I can just relax here. But it's named Dahlgren Quad because of the chapel right behind me, Dahlgren Chapel. That's the main house of our Catholic ministry on campus. They have mass every day, and on Sundays when students usually go, they have it starting as late as 11 p.m. because it's sometimes just what works for students. Other religious locations are located, our sanctuaries are located at different parts of the campus, but this is just where Dahlgren Chapel is. You can also get married in Dahlgren Chapel if you are an alumni or a Hoya, and so just keep that in mind for the future.
Yeah, I've crashed many wedding pictures looking awesome. But another reason why we love Dahlgren Quad, and it's actually one of my favorite spots as well on campus, is because it's so rich with our history for why it is Georgetown. So if I can direct your attention to this building, kind of directly behind me on my left, you'll see that is Old North. Now, Old North was constructed in 1795 for only $400. And since its tenure, once it was constructed, it's been used for several different purposes. One of the most fascinating to me is that during the Civil War, it was actually transitioned to an emergency Union hospital. Now, Georgetown was a little bit intertwined in that whole Civil War conflict. Students were serving on both sides of the war. and so enrollment at the university dropped to a mere 17 students. The university itself took a pacifist position in the war, but that building, as I mentioned, was transformed into an emergency union hospital. Now, at the end of the war, Georgetown adopted the colors blue and gray to show peace and reconciliation of the two sides. So that is why our school colors are the Confederate gray and Union blue. And today that building houses our newest graduate school, the McCourt School of Public Policy, and it also houses the Departments of Philosophy and English.
Yeah, one cool last fact that I want to talk about for Old North is if you look at that step right at the top, it kind of looks a little older. The reason that it's still like that is because Georgetown wanted to preserve its history, and so 14 U.S. presidents have spoken on that top step, the first being George Washington himself and the most recent being Obama, and students actually got to go see all of those presidents speak. We'll see who comes in the future.
We're going to go ahead and head out two sets of double doors. Now I have a really, really important task. I want you to pay very close attention to this. As we exit the second set of double doors, you will see a seal on the ground. Do not step on the seal. Do not step on the seal. Follow me.
Whoa, watch out, don't step on the seal. If you notice in the middle, there's a crack because students have stepped around it so many times, so the pressure has made it crack in the middle. Phew, most of you didn't step on it, so if you had, here are the consequences that you would have faced. So for students, they say that if you step on the seal, current students that go to Georgetown, that you're probably not going to graduate in 4 years. If you're a prospective student, they say that it might hurt your chances. But most importantly, if you are a parent or guardian, they say that you might not get your financial aid package. So really be careful about respecting that seal.
Yeah, and if you did, don't tell anyone. But on a more serious note, there are two offices that I want to direct your attention to. The first is directly behind us. It was right under the entrance that we came in through. That is the Office of Financial Services. There you can find, when the office is open, service workers who will help you kind of explain the aid packages and how financial aid works here at Georgetown. The other office that I want to direct your attention to is something very, very important to Georgetown. It's not just an office, but a community. It is the office of the Georgetown Scholars Program. Now, the Georgetown Scholars Program, known as GSP on campus, is the only merit-based scholarship that we offer for students. Like we say, it is a community of first-generation low-income background students, and it's about 100 or so students out of every entering freshman class. So in that office, they have full-time workers. There's 5 full-time employees and staff. They also run a mentorship program because they understand that these types of students coming from these communities can face challenges integrating into the Georgetown community, and they're really there to help. They have several different grants to support these students so that they don't only have the financial resources they need to succeed in college, but also that community to succeed in college.
Yeah, it's such a great program that Georgetown has. So right behind me, I'll introduce you to our library, our main library on campus, Lounger Library. So peeking right through that tree right there. So Lounger Library has so much going on it. There's about 5 floors, and each floor has its own kind of unique flavor. My favorite floors, which I'll point out right now, the first one is Georgetown. It's located on the first floor, and Georgetown provides students with access to audio and visual equipment. And so if a student wanted to rent out a camera, they could go ahead and do that downstairs. Some other things that they have going on down there are virtual reality. There's also the Makers Hub, which allows you to make new buttons or kind of try new projects. And so that's really a creative hub for students down there. But of course, we have our typical studying floors. The second floor is the social floor, you know it. And so that's the floor that you tell yourself that you're gonna go do work on, and maybe you chat with your friends, do group projects there. The rest of the floors get quieter as they go up. So the third floor, you could probably exchange some whispers. The fourth floor, maybe drop a pen. Fifth floor has to be absolutely silent. But there also are great research opportunities within Lounger Library. If you can't access a book here, then you can access it within within the consortium agreement that we have around DC. If you still can't find that book, you can go to the Library of Congress out in DC. And if you still can't find it after that, then I would just change your subject.
Awesome. So the next area we're going to head to is Village A. You can kind of see it from the front side. It's another residence hall that we have on campus. It's set up very similar to Alumni Square or Village B, located directly outside the front gates. We're actually going to head to the top of the building and explain a little bit more about what this housing community is, what it looks like, and talk about some opportunities in Georgetown. So why don't you follow us up these steps? Right now we're standing on the Village A rooftops. Now this is actually primarily upperclassmen housing. It's apartment-style housing. So basically what you have is 2 bedrooms, it's 4 people, there's a kitchen, a living room. It's fully furnished by the university. All you gotta do is move in and deck it out. And if you're lucky enough, you get one of these sweet rooftops where you kind of get a great view of the city. You can see Rosslyn behind us, and then you can also see the Washington Monument if you look afar. A lot of students will take advantage of these opportunities outside of our Georgetown community, but just to touch upon some things that we have within if you didn't want to head off campus, first and foremost, Georgetown has a great college area known as M Street. That's like a pretty public space. You can find Georgetown Cupcake there, you can find places to eat, dine, you can find nightlife, so there's pretty much anything you would need, even shopping, and that's just like right outside of our community. Here on campus, there are opportunities for you to get involved. We have hundreds of different clubs. There's really an activity for everyone, from like tennis club to like table tennis club to guacamoles and like, you know, clubs of interest, of athletics. There's really something for you to get involved in. If you're looking for pre-professional opportunities, we have that as well on campus. In addition to our student employments, you can work in like different offices here. There are also student-run corporations where you can actually intern at and get pretty professional experience. So one thing that we're really proud of is we run the largest student-run corporation in the United States. It's known as the Corp, Students Serving Students. And through that, they have 5 different locations. So they have like 3 coffee shops and 2 like small grocery stores where students completely run these stores, from the CEOs, the CFOs, the managers, the individual site managers, all the people doing hiring, retention. Those are all undergraduates, so you could have great opportunities for that. We also have a credit union program known as GWAFSCU. It stands for the Georgetown University Alumni and Faculty Credit Union. You can open up a card. They have credit builder programs there, and you can also intern there as a bank teller. So there really is something for you if you don't want to get off campus.
Yeah. All right, so to talk a little bit about the stuff off campus, some of my favorite things to do. You can also see the Kennedy Center over there, a little bit close to the Washington Monument. And the Kennedy Center offers a lot of really cool shows and things. But recently, Georgetown has provided students with opportunities to see these shows for free. And so I've seen at least 4 Kennedy Center shows just this semester. Some other things to do off campus, what I love about DC is that there are so many free things to do. And so the Smithsonian's are all free, including the zoo. So I love to just like check out a new one on the weekend with my friends. Another one of my favorite things to do at night is to go to the monuments and just kind of get a look at that view. And again, all these things are for free. Some ways to get out there are through our GUTS bus system, so our Georgetown University transportation system. It starts over on campus and they go to a few locations out in DC, over to the Law Center, which is going to connect you with Capitol Hill and the kind of that area. They also go to the closest metro stops, and you can kind of get basically anywhere in DC from there. Some other reasons that students go out into DC are for professional opportunities. So the really cool thing about being in DC during the school year is that really there's such like a wide range of opportunities that are open to students. I personally will be at the State Department this summer. I have friends who have started working with their congressperson as soon as their second semester. I have friends working at the National Institute of Health, the CDC. For other business majors, there are tons of Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits. There's really something for everyone at Georgetown. And about over 90% of students will hold at least one internship during their time at Georgetown. And in my experience, I know a lot of people have sought to do at least more than that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so why don't you follow us this direction? We're going to talk a little bit about freshman housing on campus and dining.
Josiah, look who it is. It's Jack the Bulldog. Jack is our mascot here on campus. He's a very skilled dog. He even rides a skateboard at the basketball games, and there's a specific student crew who's dedicated to walking Jack.
So this tour is actually lucky because most tours don't get a chance to see Jack.
And they say if you saw Jack on your tour that it's a good luck charm, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so the next thing we want to talk to you about is freshman housing. We're going to do it after we take you through one of our student spaces here on campus. Follow us this direction. This space is known as the Healy Family Student Center, or students nickname it for the HFSC. Now, Healy Family Student Center, or the HFSC, has a lot of different spaces for students to engage with for creative expression. So there's like piano rooms, there's theater rooms, dance rooms, all the way to study spaces and game watch centers. So we have different TVs in there. They sometimes transition the space basically for whatever students need it for that week. Usually they play the Georgetown basketball games in like the couch rooms. I mean, there's also a pub sitting right here at the bottom of the floor that sells great burgers. So we're going to go ahead and walk through this building.
Right, so we're once again still in the Healy Family Student Center. One of the cool things that I want to mention is if you look over here, you'll see a poster for a movie. We have free movies for students on the weekends, and they're usually movies that just came out, and so they can see those for free all together in our screening room.
Right, I haven't even seen Frozen 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and walk through what they call the Great Room. It's a space for students to study with natural lighting. There's several outlets everywhere in this place, and it's a great study space. It's typically quieter, but we're on spring break, so exclusive access tour right here.
Yeah. We were talking about how we have really cool events in here. I believe it was last year or the year before that they had the Winter Olympics, and so students really gathered around here when any cool event was going on and would watch that all together.
So feel free to look around. You can see the plants on the wall are actually real. You will sometimes see university officials watering these plants on these walls occasionally just to keep them alive. So that kind of speaks to the natural light ambiance that we have in this room.
Yeah, I especially love studying here during the winter.
Yeah, it's great. There's also like a fireplace that they run through the middle here. So it's, again, another spot. And if you look over in this area, this great area right behind me, so those curtains, they actually kind of drop down a large screen, and that is where they'll have sometimes game watches. So when men's soccer won this national championship this past year, they had a game watch here. It was a really huge celebration, and then even after that, when we did a welcome rally back for the men's soccer team after they won that national championship. So if you follow me this direction, I'm just going to talk very briefly about athletics at Georgetown. So Georgetown does run all Division I athletic sports here. So we're all, the varsity level is all Division I, except for football, which competes in the Patriot League. But if you're coming here, you just want something athletically related, or maybe you're a captain of a high school team, but you want a competitive feel. We have club sports as well. They have tryouts. They just practice a little bit less. And then there's also, if you want something fun to do with your friends, intramural sports. So we have really fun sports, which in my opinion, those are the best type of sports. There's like an IM battleship competition that runs, which is as crazy as it sounds. It's 5 people to a kayak in the school pool. 4 of you guys have a shield, and 4 of you guys have a bucket, 1 person has the shield, and they push you all together and you try and sink each other's ships. So it's a really fun experience. Right here you can also see one of the locations of the Corp. That is a salad shop. That is Hill Toss. It's really great. When the students are here, it's usually active, playing loud music, and it's a great vibe to like sit around and study.
One super important thing that we still have to talk about with sports is our sports games and the ones that you can go see. So at Georgetown, our probably most popular sport to go watch is basketball. And you can actually go see the basketball games out in DC at the Capital One Arena. So they happen at the same place where the DC Wizards play, and they're super fun to go to and really cheap for students. I don't think I've ever paid more than $5, $10. And so the way that you can get out there is through buses that actually will take you from campus all the way out to Capital One Arena. And those games are a ton of fun.
Yeah, so why don't you follow us outside?
All right, while we're talking about student activities, one of my favorite things to engage with on the campus is the arts community. And so my freshman year, first year, I started off the bat and I performed in a show, and it was great that I had the opportunity to do that as a first year. But some other ways to get involved. So yes, we have our Department for Performing Arts and they have their own shows, but we also have tons of student groups. Just in general, a lot of things are student-led on campus. And so we have our three most popular are Nomadic Theater, Mask and Bauble, and the Black Theater Ensemble, and they all kind of have their own interests, but Bradley Cooper was actually in the Nomadic Theater while he was here. Some other ways to get involved in the arts is we have our Friday music series, and they actually have like jazz performances and other things that students can go to for free right on campus every Friday. You can also engage with music through the choir. There's also like a jazz band. There's also just other student bands. Some other ways to engage with the arts are through writing. There's creative arts clubs or creative writing clubs. There's also our student-run newspapers. So we have the Hoya, the Voice, the Caravel, again, each kind of having their own focus. And so yeah, that's one of my favorite communities on campus.
The subject I know you've all been waiting for, housing. So Georgetown does have housing, surprise, surprise. We actually require that all students live on campus for 3 years of their time here at Georgetown. So Georgetown does have a lot of different housing options for you. As a first year, you will be placed in a dorm. Most of the dorms we have here on campus are traditional styled, so they'll have 2 people per bedroom. Some of them, if you're lucky, even have a sink or mirror in the bathroom. So one of the larger freshman dorms we have here on campus that's right next to the dining hall under the building we just came out of, New South Hall, is the largest freshman dorm we have here on campus. It houses over 150 students per floor. That residence hall has sinks and mirrors in their bathrooms, in their rooms, and then they do have communal bathrooms. Another freshman residence hall that we have here on campus is the Village C area. So it is separated into 2 sections. You have Village C West and Village C East, are better known as VCW and VCE. So VCE is a freshman version of this, and they have complete bathrooms in their rooms. So they only share the bathroom with their roommate, and they do have to clean that bathroom. And then another residence hall we have is kind of on the other side of campus. You unfortunately won't get to see it on the tour today, but that is Darnell Hall. Darnell Hall is another competing large freshman dorm with New South. It's across the campus, so students in Darnell tend to be pretty close because they like to walk to the dining hall together, which is right here, the Donovan Hall. My friend Alyssa is going to touch upon that in just a few moments. But one last note, Georgetown, since we are an open campus, they do take security very, very seriously. You will find the office of the Georgetown Police Department located directly under the Village CW housing area. You can go into their offices at any time. They're always open. In addition to that, they run a 24-hour patrolling service where there's always a cop car kind of driving around, just ensuring that everything is okay in the area. In addition to that, they run a Live Safe app, which sends you updates. You can register for these things. You can opt into them online. So through that app, they'll send out updates. Say if there's a fire in an area, they'll tell you to avoid that area until further notice, and they'll even call you. They'll send you an email and a text to make sure that you know what's happening in your community. In addition, you can report anything that you see in the neighborhood, and you can also call what are called Safe Rides through that app. So Safe Rides is basically like a free Uber service for Georgetown students. So it runs literally like every weeknight. You just call it, they'll pick you up, and it's a pretty great service to have, especially in the winter. In addition to that, to keep all of our residence halls nice and secure, we have these little tiny black boxes outside that you have to actually swipe your ID card at just to gain entry into the building. Here at Georgetown, we operate on a 3-swipe system, so that means that you will swipe 3 times to get into any residence hall here. So usually there's 1 swipe outside, then when you walk in, you'll hand it to a student guard or just a security guard sitting at the desk. They will swipe your card, give it back to you. That would then gain you access into the dorm, and then you have to swipe to call the elevator, and in some dorms, you even have to swipe to move the elevator. So Georgetown is ensuring that only people who are supposed to be in these residence halls are in these residence halls.
Yeah, I loved my freshman dorm. But one last thing I'll talk about in relation to housing is roommates. So who are you living with while you're here at Georgetown? Georgetown has a really cool system called the CHARM system, this long acronym. But really what it does is it makes sure that students are compatible with who they're living with. And they'll send you a survey and you'll answer what temperature do you like the room, what time do you get back, do you play loud music, and then they'll match you up with people who are the most compatible, and you can kind of chat around, decide who you think you'd be interested in living with, and then send them a message. It's a really cool system, and a lot of my friends who did that are still living with their roommates today. All right, now to talk about one of the most important topics, food. So right behind me is Leo Donovan Hall, and it has kind of two different ways that you can access food. So on the first level, the level that you walk right into, it's kind of like a mall food court. They have different locations that have different types of food. So there's kind of like an Asian place that cycles out, like it'll have Japanese food one week, Korean food the next week, and they have that with kind of a Latinx food group. They also have like Mediterranean food, as well as this tasting kind of menu in the middle of it, and they'll bring in just outside food partners to kind of have like chicken waffles or kind of different things that the food hall might not typically have. And then on the bottom level, that's like your all access buffet. You just swipe in once and you could technically stay there all day. And they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at that location. And they even have late night food for students who are up late studying or doing whatever. And they can access just food at the end of the day until 10 p.m. We also do have a few other locations around campus. We have an Einstein's Bagels in one of our locations right outside of the front gates. We also have a salad shop and a few other places that students can go on around campus so that just makes sure that if they're running in between classes, they can always grab food. And the way that the kind of like system works with that is that you're going to select your meal plan, the one that works best for you. First years have kind of more of a limited access to or a decision on what kind of meal plan they make, just to make sure that those first years are eating. The sophomores kind of the same thing, and then beyond that, it all depends on whether or not you have a kitchen in your living situation, just to make sure that every Hoya is eating while they're here. All right, so sadly that brings us to the end of our tour. Some things that you didn't get to see but that are still great on campus is about 5 minutes from where we are right now. You can walk to the Levy Center, and around the Levy Center you have some more it is an academic building, you have other ones as well, but in the Levy Center itself, that's where that Federal Credit Union is located that Josiah talked about earlier, as well as some really important centers. So we were the first Catholic university to have a fully sourced LGBTQ resource center, and we also have a women's center over there, as well as our academic resource center, which really provides students with tutors for any languages or other topics that might be harder, like economics, and make sure that they're able to succeed in all of their classes. Beyond that, it's really only like a 5-minute walk to any of your classes from where you're living on campus. Classrooms and living areas are all kind of integrated within each other. I personally think that this is the perfect size campus just because of being able to wake up 10 minutes before class.
Yeah. All right, so that's all we got for you today, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, see you around.
Take care.
Hoya Saxa.
Hoya Saxa.